time out of your Saturday to be here for this very powerful conversation. What are you hungry for? You know, the first time that I came across that phrase was in the blog of my dear friend Susan Tetford, who you're going to hear a lot from today, and I'm so excited. But honestly, the reason why you're here today, because it was triggering for me, and I was kind of thinking that maybe it was conversation that would be triggering to spark a great conversation, because deep down, there are times when I acknowledge myself that I was eating and it was nothing to do with food, but maybe something that I was missing in my body, my mind, or my spirit. And so I just thought that maybe I had a hunch that I wasn't alone and there was somebody else wrestling with that question, what are you hungry for? Anyway, we're going to unpack a lot today, but before I introduce my co-host and guest, welcome to another Going Farther event. My name is Vianne King, the founder of Going Farther, and this community is where we learn to grow together in a safe place. It's a community where you have access to resources, exclusive events, inspirational content just like this, and interact with other incredible, what I like to call warriors who are fighting forward. But it's all about igniting hope here in this space, empowering and equipping. And I imagine you're here for any number of reasons today, but I'm hoping that what you'll hear today will hit the spot, just like that glass of cold water on a hot day. But please type in the chat where you're from, your name, and what you're hoping to get from today. But also, could you tell us what foods give you joy? And so to help us do this today, I'm going to bring in my amazing co-host and dear friend, Tammy Richards, and she's going to actually cover some of the disclaimer, and trigger notes of today before we go in. Tammy is a registered nurse, mental health coach. Tammy comes to the table with years of professional experience and lived experience in wellness and mental health, and that makes her a great and invaluable asset to our team. And she will close out today a little bit later to provide some more next steps, etc. But Tammy, take it away and introduce our dear friend and fabulous guest, Susan.
I want to say hello to everyone. Thanks so much for being here. You probably, if you're anything like me, this could be a fairly sensitive topic for you. So I just want to give you some disclaimers, I guess, just an overview of things to be aware of. Food and emotional eating, those discussions, those conversations can be quite triggering sometimes for people. And so we would just ask that as you're listening in on this conversation, taking part, you can talk or share as much as you would like to. You can just choose to listen. If it's too much for you and you even feel that you have to leave, that is absolutely okay. You can do that as well. And then just to also remember that we're not giving medical advice here. And so if you have significant medical conditions related to eating, let's say disordered eating is part of your story, then we would just recommend and request that you loop in a professional. And if you want, we can help you with referrals in that regard. We are here to have an open, safe conversation. And one big thing is this is not about food rules. It's about paying attention. And we pay attention to our needs, we pay attention to our emotions, and we pay attention to what God is having to say to us in the midst of this conversation. So we're so excited to have Susan with us. I've just gotten to know Susan a little bit through Vianne over the last couple of months, and it's been a pleasure. Susan is the heartbeat behind Well Now Fitness. And so Well Now Fitness is a community that's been developed for women like you and me, who are navigating the shifting seasons of life and who are ready to embrace health, not just as a habit, but as a way of life. So Susan has 30 years of experience as an educator. She's a black belt formal martial arts instructor. She's a certified group fitness and personal trainer, and she brings a unique blend of knowledge, coaching, and compassion to every class and conversation. Holistic wellness, which is in our programs, is not just a tagline or an add-on, it's woven into every detail. So today is not about food rules. As I said, it's about listening to your bodies, listening to God, and we're excited to have Susan take over from here.
Okay, well, thank you girls for having me. I'm just really happy to be here. And as way of introducing the topic we're going to talk about, I guess I'll just kind of give the reason why I do what I do. So I realize that women are hungry for much more than just food or exercise when you're dealing with the fitness industry. You hear a lot of conversation around food, you hear a lot of conversation around exercise, but I realize that there are other things that ladies are hungry for, and something that has sparked an interest in my heart, I guess, when I retired, to be able to help ladies in this area. Especially some ladies are intimidated by the topic of exercise or even the topic of food because it's so emotional. And a little while ago, I wrote a blog about some personal experiences of my own regarding food and hunger. And just so that you know my story, I've had feelings of all kinds, these three types of hunger: physical hunger, emotional hunger, and spiritual hunger. I've experienced them all, and no doubt many of you here have also experienced all three types of hunger. What today's purpose is to help you identify the emotions that go along with and the physical sensations that go along with the different types of hunger. So just to share briefly, physical hunger for me, ever since I was a little girl, I always had a really good appetite. And I would eat whatever was put before me, and maybe, you know, there was a little bit of guilt associated with eat everything on your plate. We've all kind of grown up with that, maybe, a mentality. But there wasn't much I didn't like. And so I was eating, and I ate when I wasn't hungry. Whenever we had company visit the house, if they set the table, I pulled my chair up. Didn't matter if it was just 10 minutes ago, if somebody else just left. And we had a lot of visitors. So, and food happened, communication happened around the table. So I was used to doing that. And if we were invited anywhere, food was always part of it. So that's part of the physical hunger that I've experienced over the years. But a few years ago, emotional hunger became more real to me. And I've always ate when I was stressed. I even remember growing up, like some people lose their appetite when they're stressed. When I'm stressed, I can eat the legs off the table. Like it's just the way it is. So for me, and I would, you know, go for crunchy food or whatever. But a few years ago, actually, it was quite a while ago now, because my dad passed away in 2002. And it was prior to his death, and prior to that, he was 20 years struggling with Parkinson's disease. So there was a lot of emotional baggage that went with that. And one night after visiting him, and he was bedridden for 10 years, not able to move, and it would really be bothersome to me. So I remember one night coming home from visiting and went to the kitchen and opened the fridge and started to take out snacks and proceeded to have the boil the kettle. And I really wasn't hungry, but I had this hole in my stomach. It's just how I felt. And I kept eating, thinking it was going to fill it up. And then I remember looking at my husband and saying, Trevor, this is the weirdest sensation. Like, I feel like my stomach is empty and I feel like I'm hungry and I've eaten this, I've eaten that. And I listed up. I said, I can't fill the hole up. And then it hit me that I wasn't physically hungry. I was emotionally drained and I was trying to fill that. So that's my story with emotional eating. Spiritual hunger. Perhaps I've always been sensitive to wanting to be closer to God, so I've had a spiritual hunger. But a brief backstory here. Tammy introduced me and she mentioned that I was a black belt in karate and said that I was a former instructor, and that is true, but I haven't instructed in karate since 2012, and that's basically because at that time in my life, my the school of teaching where I was learning, they began to embrace more spiritual concepts and more spiritual pursuits that were a little bit at conflict with my own faith, and it didn't satisfy me. Originally, when I joined karate, perhaps it was emotional hunger. I wanted to achieve something. I wanted confidence. And it did help me with a lot of that. And I learned a lot of physical things with that. But along the way, it didn't satisfy my spiritual hunger. And they were pursuing spiritual hunger in different ways than I was comfortable with. So I actually walked away from my karate practice, and I still wanted to train physically. So I began a personal training certification process. So that spiritual hunger became very real to me at that time. And I knew that there was only one source that could fill my spiritual hunger. So I just wanted to put that out there so that you could understand where I come from with all types of these hungers. So the goal today and the purpose is to identify for you, or to help you identify the different hungers in your life and what are your triggers that might trigger those types of hunger. And the first one, the physical hunger, a brief definition would be it's your body's signal. If you could type in the chat, or if you just want to speak out your answer, what would be some of the physical cues you might have for physical hunger? Can anybody share or put in the chat or shout out for me? What does your body feel like when you feel physical hunger? Gnawing in your stomach, irritable, yeah, right? Feeling hangry,
Yeah.
as we say, stomach rumbling,
I was going to
faint.
say starved to death.
Yes, right? All of those physical sensations, and it can be weakness as well, low energy, right? And we mentioned irritable. Um, and if we want to satisfy that hunger, how can we go about satisfying that type of hunger? What are we going to reach for? If you're physically hungry, do you want a hug or do you
Food.
want food? You want food, right? So you're going to reach for balanced meals, and you're going to reach for nutrient-dense foods if it's going to be really satisfying. And I'm not talking about cravings here. That's probably a topic for a different day. I'm just talking about real hunger, when you feel that physical urge for hunger. And having regular eating patterns. So you want to match the nourishment that you're going to look for with the type of hunger that you are experiencing. So if I'm hungry for food, my body is letting me know, I might even have a headache, then you are going to reach for food to fill that hunger. And then the next one, emotional hunger. So if physical hunger is the body's signal, then emotional hunger is known as the heart's signal. That's the heart signaling for comfort or soothing. You want to soothe something that you're feeling bad about, okay? So if you have emotional hunger, what kinds of sensations might that involve? Can you put in your chat there now what that could involve? What types of feelings or sensations might you be experiencing? Mindlessness, yeah, that would be one for sure. Sadness, yeah. Anybody else have one to add? I mean, celebrating, yeah. Difficulty concentrating, yeah. You got things on your mind too. Nervous feelings, definitely. Butterflies, yeah, wandering around looking for boredom, looking for something to do. If you're lonely, definitely. All of these are perfect examples of what emotional hunger might look like or show up like in your body. And it's when we try to numb another emotion with food or with another activity. And sometimes it results in pleasure for the moment, but oftentimes afterwards, how do you feel? If you've engaged in eating food and you're not hungry, how does it make you feel? What's the word everyone's going to say?
Wow.
Yeah, it makes you feel blah. And there's another big word begins with G.
Guilty often.
You feel guilt, right? And today we don't want to be talking, we're not associating guilt with food or anything like that. But the reason why that happens is because you're trying to fill the emotional need with a nourishment that doesn't match the need. And then you eat the food, you're not hungry, and then you feel overfull, you feel yucky, and then you feel guilty for eating when you weren't hungry, but it still hasn't hasn't done anything for the emotional need that you're experiencing, and you haven't done anything to nurture that. So what might be some appropriate actions you could take to nurture the emotional need? What might you be needing instead of food? And you can shout it out if you want, or if you just want to type it. So I'm looking, oh, I'm walking or exercise, good. Processing the emotion, connection, you might need to be connecting with people, good. Having water, taking a break, especially if you're feeling overtired or stressed. I'm just scrolling down, good. Excellent, those are all excellent responses. So sometimes our body, but because we don't pay attention, good talking to someone, right? So that could be a close friend. If it's something really heavy, and Tammy alluded to this earlier, like she talked about eating disorder, but what if you've got something really heavy emotionally going on, then you might even need to speak to a counselor. It might have something to do with even your mental health. Sometimes a good friend is enough, but sometimes it may not be. So sometimes you may just need to go to a counselor. And it might just be something for mental health. And I know that VN offers a mental health course. So like it could mean taking a course. And we know that Tammy's just been certified for mental health counseling. So, and when I'm talking about mental health in this sense, I'm not talking about diagnosed mental disorders, okay? I'm talking about just general mental health, your overall mental well-being. So strategies that these people can help you with. And of course, if you have further need of help, then you would certainly seek a professional for proper counseling in that. But again, it means matching the solution to the need. So another few things that you might be able to do is to journal. I find that journaling for me really helps process my emotions. I think much more clearly when I can sit down with pen and paper and write my feelings, and I find that really helps me identify what emotions I might be feeling. It could also be just having some self-compassion and talking to yourself in a positive way and not a negative way. And then finding the comfort that you need from the right source. It might mean just speaking to someone nearby, a friend, even just a hug from somebody, some reaffirmation that things are okay. So having those types of responses. Moving and exercise is very important and very good for processing stress, for processing anxiety, to get the nervousness out of your system, to get anxiety out of your system. So that all helps too. So that's with regards to emotional hunger. And the last one is spiritual hunger. How might that show up? How do you know if you're spiritually hungry for something? What might you be longing for? And spiritual here can be a couple of different meanings, I guess. Spiritual hunger is the soul's signal for connection and meaning. And it's when you seek more meaning in your life, and usually also involves seeking God as a source for that sense of meaning and purpose in your life. But it also can involve your purpose, your calling in life as well. And someone mentioned here, when you're spiritually hungry, you may feel empty, always looking for more. Nothing can fill the need in the physical or emotional realm. Yeah, that's usually a clue, right? Because emotional and spiritual can be confusing sometimes. They both might feel similar, but if you're meeting all of your emotional needs with people, with activity, with rest, and you still have this emptiness and this restlessness, there's something deeper going on. And then that's at the deepest level of who you are, and that's your core being, your spiritual person. And thankfully, Matthew 5 and 6 says this: Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they will be filled. So whatever our need is, whether it's physical hunger, our daily bread. And I like to even think that in the Lord's Prayer, the daily bread refers to more than just physical bread. He has whatever we need for the day. So whatever my need is this day, whether it's emotional, physical, or spiritual, He has sustenance for me to draw on. And briefly just want to mention the woman at the well. We hear a story in scripture about the woman at the well who went to draw water. And everybody thinks it's just because she was thirsty. And yeah, she was physically thirsty. But we realize that in Jesus's conversation with her, he recognized in her a thirst that was greater than her physical thirst. And she put her bucket down in the well and she drew it up and she had water, but it still wasn't meeting her need. So he referred her to draw from the one who could meet all of her needs. And I also think about how many times do we try to fill ourselves up. We try to fill our own buckets, and we have a reservoir of resources that we can use. We can dip our bucket down and it can come up with something and it can help us. But what happens when your bucket is empty? What happens when your well is dry? Who can fill it, babe? I can't fill it. I don't have the resource to fill it. Only when I'm empty and I know that everything else that I've tried has failed and cannot satisfy, then I know that's spiritual hunger. And that's on a deeper level. And that's God's way of getting our attention. He makes us restless. He stirs our hearts to make us hungry for more of Him so that He can fill us. So that would be my brief, maybe a little bit lengthier introduction to the 3 types of hunger. And a goal today is for you to identify your own type. So I would like for us to do a little interactive exercise now. And I'm just briefly going to read off a couple of examples of hunger. And I want you to type in the chat to identify what type of hunger is it. Is it spiritual, emotional, or physical? Okay, you just got off a stressful call and suddenly you want ice cream. What kind of hunger is that? And you can type it in the message or in the chat, sorry. I'm looking in the chat and I see type message and I read message. Okay, emotional hunger. And emotional hunger, yeah, emotional. Good, good. How about you skipped lunch and now you feel lightheaded and irritable? What type of hunger is that most likely? And there can be combinations of it as well. P for physical, physical, physical. That's pretty much an obvious one, right? You skipped your lunch, you know that and now you got a headache or you're lightheaded. How about you feel lonely at night and you crave something warm and sweet? Warm and sweet. E for emotional. Yeah, right? So warm and sweet, but the irony of it is that piece of chocolate, that hot cup of coffee might be warm and the treat might be sweet, but it's not as warm as a hug and it's not as sweet as the person sitting next to you, or it's not as warm as God's love and it's not as sweet as His presence. So anyway, just a little thought on that. Emotional. How about you feel unsettled and you find yourself scrolling on your phone while you're snacking? What could that be? You're just scrolling on your phone. You're feeling unsettled a bit and you're scrolling on your phone. Yeah. I'm just waiting for a few more to come in. Just and it's, don't worry about, oh, I've just got to click more messages to see more. Yeah, there's 2 types that this could really represent. And you're hitting it right on the head with emotional or spiritual. Anytime you're unsettled, that has to do something with your feelings, your emotions, or your spirit. Good. You're preparing for prayer, but keep thinking about food. Anyone ever try fasting? Right? This one. And so this one, and I guess too, it could be physical, because you could be physically hungry, but you might be trying to focus on a spiritual matter. And so it could be a little bit of sample, a mixture of all, of 3 of them in a way, because you might be emotional and feel like you want to pray about something, but you keep thinking about food. So you get distracted. So that's good. That shows that you're getting the understanding of telling the difference. And the reason why we're not good at this is because we are so busy. And solitude has been replaced by busyness and rushing around and doing things mindlessly. I have a terrible habit, and I think I blame the school bell for this. When we used to have short lunch breaks, and I eat very fast. And it was out of necessity for years. But now I have the option to eat slowly. But guess what? I still eat fastly and I shove it in like there's no more food coming. But then I don't pay attention to my feelings if I'm even hungry. I'm just eating because, I don't know, the clock says it's time to eat. And now I'm trying to train my body to eat. I don't necessarily go by the clock so much anymore. It's like if I'm not feeling hungry, I'll try not to eat. And it's not even about what types of food at this point. It's just identifying your feelings. So now I want everybody we're going to take a hunger awareness pause. So we're going to pause in silence and we're going to practice a little bit of solitude. And I want everybody to just sit comfortable. If you want to, or if you want to stand, if you want to shift your position, you just get comfortable. Close your eyes or just have a soft gaze. And I want you to take a big breath in, slow down. Breathe in for a count of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale for a count of 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay? Maybe you want to just shake out your hands for a little bit. Maybe just stand up for a second. Just shift your body and just stretch for a minute. Just move, shake your hands. Okay. Now, settle in again and take another slow breath. Inhale. 1, 2, 3, 4. And exhale. 1, 2, 3, 4. As you sit here now with your eyes closed, relaxing in your chair, however you want to sit, I want you, in your mind's eye, I want you to think about the last time you ate when you weren't truly hungry. So just think about when that was. Where did you feel it in your body? Can you recollect that? What was it that made you maybe go to the fridge and open the door or go to the cupboard? Do you remember what emotion or situation surrounded that moment? So recollect that moment. Think about what feelings you might have had or what was the situation that might have triggered it. Now ask yourself this: what were you really hungry for? What did you want most? Was it the food? Was it comfort? Was it rest or connection with God? Anybody care to share? How many can, maybe just by show of hands, how many could relate and could figure out what type of emotion or what type of hunger they had? Did it resonate with you? Could you figure out what type of hunger you had? Okay. Do you notice you only recognized it then because you took time to process it and think about it? In the moment, you're just reaching for the fridge door. And you don't stop to think about why you're reaching for the fridge door. It's just habit. You just do it, right? Sometimes our bodies ask for food when our hearts or spirits are actually hungry. Slowing down helps us listen with discernment. Okay, I'm going to say that again. Slowing down helps us listen to our bodies with discernment. It requires discernment. We got to start paying attention to what's going on up here. Pay attention to what's going on in our hearts and in our spirits. God has wired us this way. This is the way he designed us. He designed food for us to fill our physical bodies. There's nothing, and we should not have guilt over our food. We should eat with joy. And that's something, another topic for another day, but bring joy back into eating. Celebrate eating. It's a beautiful gift, right? Don't beat yourself up for eating. Enjoy eating. And a quick, some takeaways I'd like to walk us through now that would be practical for you is a 3-step hunger check. This is something that you can take with you. And I don't know if Deanne can post a picture. I did create a little picture. She can post it up here for us. And if you want to take a screenshot of it, you can. And it's just 3 words. You can memorize it. But this type of stuff works for me because I need cues. I need little things to prompt me. This is called the 3-step hunger check, and it's in the chat box, so you can just see it there. So if you click on the chat box on this step, and you'll see the first step is pause. Take a breath before eating. Now, this is something that we should have been doing for years. We've been all raised to say grace, right? That's our pause before eating, to stop and take heart and take notice, but we've turned it into a ritual. And it's just rote. We just say it. We don't even think about what it means. But take a breath before eating. I went to a naturopath a few years ago because I had some digestion issues. And you know, she told me one of the first things to do before sitting to the table to eat was, she said, place your hand on your heart and just breathe. Pause. Right? And then she said, give thanks. And I thought, well, now she told me to say my grace. But it's so true, right? So take a breath before eating. 2, pinpoint. Is this hunger for my body, for my heart, or for my spirit? Just take a moment to process it. It'll be easier to turn down the food if you know that the food is not going to satisfy the need, right? If you're hungry, yeah, then you're going to go for the food. If you're not hungry, it won't be so appealing because you know, oh, this is something emotional. Okay, pick a different solution. Which brings us to point 3, provide. Choose the nourishment that matches the need. If the need is food, eat. If the need is comfort, find an appropriate source of comfort. And that could be a whole other lesson, but you know what I mean. Find comfort with a friend, a spouse, with a mentor, a spiritual mentor, or a counselor, or get professional guidance. Provide spiritual hunger with prayer and connection with God through his word. Open up his word. So those are the 3 points. You're going to pause, you're going to pinpoint, and you're going to provide. 3 easy steps. Now, I don't know if anybody has brought paper with you or if you have a pen. If you do, I want you to draw a big circle or oval on your notepad and divide it into 4 sections for me. And this is called the compassionate plate activity. So you can just draw just 4. So it's like a pie, and you're dividing up in 4 equal sections, just like elementary school pie charts, isn't that? Fractions. Okay. This is something that will help you as well. When you sit down and you picture your plate in front of you, I want you to think of 4 S words. First one is slow down, which is sort of like the 3 points. So one of these activities will resonate with you more than the other. So you just pick the one. I just wanted to give you a couple of practical suggestions that might be useful for you. In one part of your plate, write the words slow down. And slow down means you're going to not only take the time to breathe, you're going to give thanks. We talked about that. Now you're going to take the time to chew slowly, swallow slowly, and don't race the clock. If you're eating with other people, it's more helpful. Enjoy conversation around the table. Don't just race to get the food down, right? You know, sometimes we race through the main part of the meal so we can get the kettle on and get the dessert on the table. Just relax. It's not a race, okay? Savor the flavors. Take a moment, let it really hit your palate. Like, and say, yeah, that's really good. I love that flavor. Savor it. Slow down, okay? In the second piece of your plate, I want you to put the word sufficient. Sufficient. And here's a little guideline about a sufficient plate. Use an 8-inch plate. Use a smaller plate. We've gone oversized on everything. So this will help with our portions a little bit. And then fill 1/3 of your plate with each of the following: a lean and clean protein. So you need your protein. You could use a whole carb grain and your few fruits or veggies. Okay? So this is dense nutrition, which means there's lots of value in those types of nutrition. So to repeat that, 8-inch plate and 1/3 of clean, lean protein, 1/3 of whole grain carb, and 1/3 of fruits and veggies. Okay, in the third section of your plate, write the word steady. You're going to have steady times to eat throughout the day. So as you pay attention to your hunger, and you want to keep your blood level sugars in check. So that might mean 3 meals and 2 snacks, but pay attention that you steadily keep yourself fueled. And finally, in the last one, put satisfied. Keep your hunger and satisfaction between a 2 and 4 on the hunger scale. Now, I haven't told you about the hunger scale, but I'm just going to check in with Vianne and see if I have time for the last activity.
You're doing amazing. We still have ample time, so keep going, girl. Thank you.
All right. Okay, so that was the second practical takeaway. So you have your 3-step hunger check. Now you have a compassionate plate, and with the compassionate plate, maybe in each one of those you can think of one thing that you could do to make your plate more compassionate, and be kind to yourself in that area. Don't use guilt on your compassionate plate. Be compassionate. And the third thing I want to leave with you is a food journal practice. And I know that Vianne sent a food journal to people, and it might be there in the chat, I think. So if you didn't get it, you can click on the link in the chat, and it will actually open up the food journal for you. And I just want to, this is a very useful tool that it's not a lot of writing, but it's a matter of checking in and identifying how you feel hungry and identifying your mood. And it's something that you wouldn't need to do for long term. It might be an activity, a practice that you might want to do maybe just for a week. And I guarantee you, if you do it for a week, you will notice behaviors or patterns about your eating that you weren't even aware of. True fact. I sometimes think that I eat more healthy food than I do, because it's important to me and I value it. And so sometimes I think I eat more healthy food than I do. And then when I track what I'm eating, it's like, ooh, I've fallen off the bus a little bit, right? So we have a tendency to think that we're doing better than we are sometimes. There's two opposite extremes. Sometimes we think we're doing a lot worse than we're doing. And then sometimes we think we're doing a lot better than we're doing. Neither extremes is healthy. You need to have a sober, factual perception of how you're really doing. You need to be able to evaluate yourself fairly, not harshly and not too graciously. There's a middle point there, okay? Because we hear lots about show yourself grace and all of that. Yes, and I'm all for that. But there comes a point when too much grace lets you do things that, you know, it's not good for you, right? On the flip side, too much judgment, too many food rules, too much guilt That's not good for you. Neither is going to allow you to feed your body properly. Neither is going to allow you to feed your emotional hunger or your spiritual hunger the way it needs to be fed. I forget the reference now about be sober-minded and diligent. It's in Romans, I believe. And when I was studying it one time, it says like have a sober opinion of yourself. And I used to always think that that was like, oh, don't be proud, have a humble opinion of yourself. I've come to understand that it means have a right opinion of yourself. Not who you think you should be, not who you think you are. Who are you really? Oh, there's a bit of an eye-opener for me. Because I think I am, but I'm not always who I think I am, whether that's good or bad, right? So have a sober perception of yourself. Anyway, that was a little side note, but I felt that that was important to share. So this is the purpose of the food journal, to have a sober opinion about how you're feeling in the moment. There's a 5-scale food hunger scale that we can follow. They do go as high as 10. I find 10 hunger scale gets too much trying to think about, am I a 6, 7, or 8? It's too much. The number 5 is easy to follow. So you're very, very hungry and probably famished if you're at number 1. This means you've waited too long to eat. Okay, you put off having your lunch and now you're famished. And now you will eat anything because you're so hungry. If you're hungry, that's scale number 2. That's a gentle stomach pain. You're beginning to have thoughts of food. Your energy is starting to dip a little bit. So this is your body asking for fuel. This is a true indication, yeah, I'm hungry. Getting little clues in your body. And that's the best time to eat. You're not famished, you're a little bit hungry. Number 3 is in the middle. That's when you're really satisfied. So that's when you've already fueled yourself. You're not stuffed, but you're feeling good. You could eat more if you wanted to. It tastes really good. You'd like to eat more, but you don't need to eat more because you're already satisfied. Number 4 is well nourished. And that one may be you're feeling full, you're starting to feel heavy, you might feel a little bit sluggish. So that means you ate just a little bit more past your satisfaction level. I find myself there a lot, right? I don't stop at that last bite when I feel really satisfied. I got to get that one more in, right? Or if my plate's not empty, I got to clear the plate. So that's when we eat past satisfaction. And 5 is stuffed. It's when you're very full, you're extremely uncomfortable, you ate too much or you ate too fast. Now this happens to me if I eat fast. So sometimes it's not that I've overstuffed myself, but I've eaten so fast that I really didn't give a chance for my body to even digest what the first morsel was put in. So that means you need to be more gentle with yourself and note patterns for the next time. So this is something that you can use at home. You can print that journal off and just for 1 week, go through that journal. And now that you understand what the five cues are for measuring your hunger, the hunger scale, what you would do on the date, you would just put the date at the top of your journal, and at each meal, it's a little bit, or if you just want to do it for your evening meal, it's up to you how you use it. You have freedom here, okay? Use it however it best fits your situation. So it can be for either breakfast, lunch, or dinner, or all 3. You might really want to check your patterns and see, okay, maybe I need more help breakfast time than I do lunchtime. You're going to record your feelings and thoughts before you eat. So that would go in the little chart before you eat. And then you're going to circle the number that describes how hungry are you. Are you a 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5? And you're going to do that before you actually eat. Okay, so that's in this section right here. And then you're going to eat, enjoy your meal. And then after you eat, you're going to evaluate again. Now you're going to check in again. Now, how do I feel? Has it changed? What's changed? And you give yourself another number. And more than likely, it will be like a number 3, 4, or 5, right? So that's how, and then you're going to just write down your snacks and drinks. The purpose here is just to identify patterns so that you understand that you'll get to identify any patterns you have. And again, you're going to track your mood before eating and after. So maybe you were irritable before because you were hungry. Maybe you're satisfied and content after because now you're satisfied. Maybe you were famished before and you were really hangry. Maybe you ate really fast and afterwards now you're feeling guilty because you ate so fast or you ate too much. So there's a range of emotions that you might be having. And then you're going to just make a little paragraph, sentence note, how do I feel in my body today and what am I learning? And then so you print that off and use that for a week and see what you learn about yourself. And then reasons why journaling is good, there's just a little sheet on the back that you can read and go through. I won't take the time to do that now. But the biggest reason I would have for doing this is to identify poor eating patterns, right? So that would be that. So that is checking in after you're eating and then reflecting. Reflection is very important. No learning, I once heard a quote, I may not be able to remember how to say it exactly, but without reflection, learning cannot happen, right? Knowledge, knowledge is important. We get knowledge, but knowledge without reflection, learning cannot happen. We have to reflect on what we know and apply it to our lives to really learn from an experience, right? So reflection is very important. So with that in mind, I would like to close out my section of the day with a little reflection. Now, I have one girl here who's in one of my fitness classes, and she knows that I close my class a lot with reflection. So we always cool down at the end, we stretch our bodies out, but then we lay in relaxation on our mats. And then I walk them through a little reflection, because now we have to think about, what we're doing and how can we, calm ourselves, and how can we calm our body after moving? How do we bring it back into a state of homeostasis, I guess? But this I want to do for this practice today about learning, reflecting on what we've learned, and hopefully you will get something from it. So let's take a moment to slow down and listen, not just to our thoughts, but to our bodies and to our spirit. We are body, we are mind and soul, spirit, okay? Close your eyes if you'd like. So this is going to be similar to what we did before, but just a little bit longer, and you're just going to settle into it. Take a slow, deep breath in through your nose and release it gently through your mouth. As you breathe, I want you to feel your shoulders soften. Feel yourself just exactly as you are in this moment. Now bring your awareness to your body. Notice your head and your face. Are they tense or are they relaxed? Move to your shoulders and your neck. Do they feel heavy or are they at ease? Now let your attention rest on your chest and your breath. Notice each inhale and exhale. Now focus on your stomach area, the center of your physical hunger. Is it empty? Perhaps it's rumbling. Is it comfortably full or is it tight? Pay attention also to your energy. Do you feel alert or tired? Calm or restless? And what emotions are present? Do you feel peaceful or stressed? Bored or thankful? Name those feelings, name those emotions. And then ask yourself, what kind of hunger? What kind of hunger am I feeling right now? Is my body asking for nourishment Or is my heart asking for comfort? Is my spirit asking for connection or rest in God? What hunger is the strongest in your body in this moment? Jesus said in John 6:35, I am the bread of life. Whoever comes to me will never go hungry. And whoever believes in me will never be thirsty. As you breathe in, let that truth settle deep in your spirit, that Christ himself is the one who satisfies the deepest hunger of your soul. Lord, help me to listen to my body with kindness and feed it wisely. Teach me to recognize my emotional and spiritual hunger and bring those longings to you. Nourish me today in body, mind, and spirit. Amen.
I think we got another hour.